Yeah.
Okay, we are live streaming in 3, 2, 1, action.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, May 16th, and this is the HHCSD Board of Education meeting. The board has just returned from executive session, and I would like a motion to move to, nope, sorry, we have to do the pledge first. Stand for the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda this evening? A second? All in favor? Okay. All right, before we get into our agenda, we are going to call up Mrs. Jandrizit and our future business leaders of America. Here we go. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Meg Janderson. I'm a math teacher here at the high school, as well as the Future Business Leaders of America FBLA advisor. Before we go into our little speech here, I did want to make a plug for our annual food drive this weekend from 10 to 12 in front of the high school. I hope people can come. It's been doing it now for 4 years, it's being in COVID. And that's something that we really take pride in doing as a organization. So we have about 40 students in FBLA here at the high school, and 6 students came with me to the conference in Rochester, New York in April to compete with other schools for FBLA. So I'm going to have the students talk a little bit about their experience in FBLA as well as at the conference.
Hi, my name is Alexander Solkowski. I'm currently a sophomore. So I joined FBLA this year for the first time, and I just joined just out of curiosity. That's what it was, and I wanted to get some clubs so that I can put them on my college resume later. And in around December time, Miss Janderson asked me if I wanted to go to States, and she said that it would be like a fun event where I'd learn a bunch of new things and compete in a bunch of events. So I decided why not, and I paid to go, and I ended up going in April, and I found it to be a very productive trip as I learned a lot about networking and other skills that I need in business, and it's made me more interested into becoming a business major later on. And it was a very productive trip, and I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm PJ Kochek and I'm a senior. I joined FBLA as like in my first month of high school, and over my 4 years in school, FBLA has been like a constant source of extracurricular learning and immersion into the business world, whether it's to that state leadership conference every year or our various fundraising efforts. So when I first came into high school, I planned to become like an engineer, like a lot of other people in my family. But through like business classes in our school and FBLA, and all that we do here, I've unearthed a passion for business that is manifested in a business analytics major in college. And as a whole, I think my FBLA business experience has been both valuable and memorable. And I would like to thank the Board of Education for allowing me and many others to have such great opportunities.
Hi, I'm Nathan Schaefer, and I'm also a senior at HHCSD, and I joined in my freshman year as well. At that time, I didn't know if I wanted to be a business major or engineering, or I'd really know what I wanted to do. But going to SOC this year, I'd already decided that I wanted to major in computer science. But you can still do stuff at SOC that does not have to do with business. So I tried broadcast journalism because I thought it'd be fun and interesting. And even if you have a different hobby, like video editing, there's events too. There's things like digital video production and other like events like that you can do. So overall, I think it's a fun experience, even if you're not majoring in business.
Hi, my name is Tony Mills, and I'm also a senior at HHCSD. And I wanted to just add on to what Nathan was saying. People think of Future Business Leaders of America in the name. They tend to focus on the business part, but there's so much more to the club than just the business aspect of it. And there's things like art, computer science, engineering, and any student at HHCSD could really join this club and hone on their skills and add in other components like like they wouldn't be able to any other place. And every job ever really requires public speaking and all those kind of skills like leadership. And being able to build those skills here through your hobbies and through your interests such as art and computer science and engineering and all those kind of things, not just business, allow you to further your not only business experience but also your learning experience, job experience, whatever you really want to make it. So it's a very powerful experience. So I suggest everyone joins, even if you aren't into business.
My name is Logan Googleman. And I'm Kayla Cohen. I'm actually the co-president of FBLA with PJ. And I'm the vice president. And we competed in all of our events collaboratively, which really helped us to build a collaborative environment, especially with the networking aspect. Yeah, within that, I'm a major over-preparer, but with this going to SLC, which is the leadership conference, we have to present in front of judges, and it's a lot of impromptu speaking, so that over-preparing side of me has definitely decreased a lot, and that's definitely gonna be helpful for me. Like everybody talked about, it's a super versatile club, so we were able to compete in events like social media strategies and publication design, which is really out of our comfort zone since we're both going into research fields. So by doing that, we were able to broaden our reach and really gain new experiences that we wouldn't have been able to gather anywhere else. Yeah, definitely. FBLA is one of the best experiences in high school that I've had, and going to the state leadership conference, meeting new people, that is something I will forever be grateful for. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I'm so proud of everyone here. They all qualified for nationals. Alex is going to nationals in June. So, you know, it's really a great experience for them. And again, I want to thank the school board, all the administrators for being supportive with this club, because it's been really an amazing experience. I've been doing it for 12 years and I'm so proud of everyone here. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to reiterate, your event is this Saturday, May 20th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And what sort of items can we fill the bus with? I know there's a flyer, but for people who missed the flyer.
So it's a bus for any sort of food items, canned goods, dry goods. I do not have a place to put any refrigerated items.
Okay.
But the most common things they need right now are cereal and rice. But anything you can think of that would be a normal staple in a pantry would be things that they would love. And we're gonna bring the food at 12 noon to Let It Shine, which is the food pantry in Verplank. They're still extremely busy even after we're back to normal, because not everyone is back to normal. So thank you very much for that.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to our audience comments section. We have one speaker.
We have one speaker, William Walsh.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Just try to keep this quick, 2 points. First, with regard to the search for a new superintendent, I would suggest that the board reach out to Stacy Signorelli, Mary Pat, Carol, any number of other people who've been through the process before. My understanding is this board is rather unfortunately unexperienced in appointing senior administrators. I don't believe one has been done in the last 3 years. So that knowledge would be helpful. The process that was detailed last meeting had less community involvement than has happened in the past. So I think there would be a benefit in reaching out and talking to them. I would note also with the process that would probably require a new superintendent to wait until the 24-25 seats, and the possibility of the interim superintendent being in place for all of next year. Between Dr. McCann and Joseph Hawkreiter, the interim superintendent hired at that time went through the same interview process that superintendents go through. And I think that the district would benefit in this instance by going through the same thing. With regard to then the object or item on the agenda tonight, with regard to the 3 new administrative positions that you'll be addressing, I would hope that the board does not adopt those positions tonight. They may be wonderful. They may be absolutely needed. I know the director of communications is something that the strategic plan has been looking at for a number of years. However, whoever is coming in as the next superintendent may have a different idea of what is needed and may want to work with the board in addressing those issues. Putting 3 new administrators in place now takes away the chance of you're interviewing with those people to find out what they want to do and what directions they may take in the district, and also limits the new incoming superintendent and what can be done at an administrative level. As a practical matter, therefore, you're limiting the person who will be coming in. As a perception issue as well, there is really a significant problem with the board adopting tonight 3 new administrative positions that were not in the budget, were not identified for the budget, required based on Enrique's comments last meeting, a substantial loss of money that is being targeted for operation and maintenance at BV. Also, it stands at significant odds in adding 3 administrative positions while at the same time you've eliminated 16 teaching positions. Decreased enrollment explains some of that, but it becomes very hard to explain in a budget that does not reflect those 3 new positions, why you're adding to the administration and taking away from the teachers. So I would request that you look and talk about it, consider it, develop the ideas, but at the end of the day, wait until the next superintendent is in place to decide what administrative positions you want to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's. Yeah, you can respond to that. Oh, you do have a superintendent. Okay, so some of the questions and comments and statements that you made are actually going to be answered this evening, so I think you'll enjoy when we get there. So thank you. All right, the next piece is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to pull this evening?
I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull fiscal 5.4.
Okay, anybody else have anything to pull? Okay, so then we can make a motion to approve the consent agenda less fiscal 5.4. Can I have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right, so fiscal 5.4. I actually have questions on that as well, but Ally, you can begin.
So my main question is kind of what Mr. Walsh was referring to. How are we proposing to pay for these positions? Where is this money coming from to cover these expenses?
Okay, let me first speak to we do it the easy way, the shorter one first. If we look at counseling services supervisor, we had a number of counselors, which we were going to reduce. One actually just recently resigned. And so in creating this new position, it's really the replacement of that one position. So the net to the district was 10, it stays 10. And what we did was reallocate part of the assignments so that we moved everyone's assignments from the low, say 120, 130 up to more what the norm would be, which is over 200. And with that, we're able to do that with nothing more than the difference in the salary between the person who left and what a director's position would be, the person coming in. The person that left was about an $80,000 position. The director's position, which would be at the highest end of a counselor, which is about 150. So it's that net difference, but there are 2 stipend positions associated with it, which we wouldn't do in the teacher contract, and we would reduce it by about another 9. So the net to it is approximately 70 less, about 60. It's about what it would be. So that's the counseling one. The nursing one is the same type of thing. It would be an existing position from what we have, because we have double nursing coverage in several of our in 2 of our buildings. The idea was one of them would become a supervisor. That's a civil service title we have to pull. Person does get a stipend now under the way the contract reads to do quasi-administrative work. The difference between becoming the supervisor of it is allowed to evaluate, which is one of the weaknesses we have in the district in terms of actual people actually able to evaluate and assist and consult and counsel individuals that need that. And that's what the goal was here. So in this particular one, probably the increase would be minor. I'm talking in the thousands of dollars because it's an existing staff member. And as I said, there was a stipend already. And then making it administrative, it has to be negotiated with the appropriate unit. But looking at the numbers, I would say there's a few $1,000 difference on those. The one that is the bigger hit, which we do not have anything relevant to it. We do have individuals doing it now, but as I said last time, the idea would be to pull from the executive director for curriculum instruction and personnel, and also from the Enrique, the assistant superintendent for business, taking the two pieces from there into one HR position. So it is creating a new position. Again, the savings there are from the budget in terms of the things that we're able to do. We didn't have 16 staff reductions. I'm not going to let that one go by without saying something. What we did was we originally gave 10 layoff slips, and we're in the process right now working with the secondary master schedules to see how they fall out. And we were meeting this morning, looking at which ones would be recalled because the numbers are there. So we're going through a process with the master schedule of tightening things up, but looking at the practicality as I promised the community. We're not cutting programs, we're cutting staff that's excess. So there'll be some savings there that I think we need another day or two while they finish working on the master schedule, but some of those will come back. But we originally had 10, wasn't it 10 layoffs? And we're probably now going to deal with 7, and there'll probably be 3 of them being pulled back, math, English, and it appears, what's the other ones, math, English, and science.
Yeah.
That's one. So, and we're just finishing all of the backfilling because it affected the middle and the high school. So in relation to this one, it would be an add-on. We always have a cushion in our budgets for staffing, and we did it again this year. So what we would identify would be those things there because there is no need, and even at elementary, we lost some sections. So, I mean, it's not a matter of, yes, it wasn't in the original budget. We can cover it in terms of the kinds of things that happen in any budget cycle. So I don't think that will impact or cause a problem with our 88, if it passes today, $1 million budget. And then again, the communications piece, we had combined it. Corey raised the point about separating it. In Southwick, we don't have communications. We do have it with a service through BOCES. So we can either look at combining it, decoupling it, or continuing to work with the BOCES piece and still hiring the HR piece.
Oh, but let me just clarify. So as of right now, these resolutions that are on board docs would be paid for through the staff reductions.
Somewhat. I say that because there's money, I want to talk about the cushion in the budget that we would do it anyway.
Right.
And right now, we don't see any, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have any positions that we need that we're unexpected in terms of adding a new position. We are adding the ones from this, what we took this 10 back.
But it's May and things could change before September.
Right, and we don't know about enrollments, if something would, push something over, but
Right.
what we're looking at today, and we were doing it with Anthony and his troop that he's working with, is there are teachers in each department that are not quite full. So I'm not worried about filling them up yet. I'm talking about instead of a 5 load, they have a 4. We're not just gonna create, but we're leaving those, we're trying to create AIS spots by filling the schedule so that every period a child has the opportunity of having ELA and math support given to them if they need it in a organized, constructed way, not free-flowing that it had been. So we're in the midst of doing that. So the answer to your question is that I believe, I'm going to mention it, I don't know when this is going to come back and bite me, but we had a music position. We do not need that music position because our enrollment didn't warrant it, but we did put it in the budget. There was $100,000 for that. There's other positions like that we thought and we always leave. I'm just saying to you, if we use 2 of them, it would not impact the budget.
But I think it's more that like the director of guidance is not
Annette,
still a guidance counselor.
that's correct.
So it's still a guidance counselor. It's one of our
For
10
the load,
with a load of students. So that's not That's
Sure, yeah, I get that.
Either way, we'd have to bring a person in because we had somebody.
we have to hire someone.
So we're just hiring somebody that can add more value to the students is my.
Yeah, they need administrative certification as well as guidance.
So this was my question. Can you explain to parents, because I think people need to understand, I think we need to understand exactly what the goal of this is, what we're not doing for students now, and what we hope this does for students. Like, what's
the added value?
I know the added value is supervisory in that we, instead of diluting it with too much on one person's plate, and there isn't one direct person over guidance, so now we've got 10 people and I have an elementary program and we had oversight over it, but there's no way to develop it with a new supervisory role. That would be the concentration on it. And then improvement in things like I would like to see, and I want to definitely be involved in the hiring process. I have an opinion of what I'm looking for. And I want to make sure it's somebody that will set some standards. For example, at the secondary level, that students will be seen, say, 6 times a year, not, you can't do once a month quite, but, and you set a schedule. A child comes in and you go, when am I seeing you next? But it's about 5 weeks out, we need to see you. Let's set a schedule. That's the kind of thing I want to see, not waiting for them to drop in with a plan toward where am I going upon graduation, whether it be a 4-year college program, a 2 or 4-year program that's not college related, but oriented towards skill development in terms of licensing and programs like our BOCES is available up to age 21. Who's pointing them in those directions with the skills that they have and the interest they have, like the gentleman, a couple of them tonight, where they were speaking about interest in areas. Well, then who's helping them find where they should be going and setting a program in place early on. By the time you're in 9th grade, you should map out what does 10, 11, and 12 look like in order for you to become that math major, that science major. And those are the things we don't have right now. We need those things in place.
Can I just try to simplify this a little bit? It's taking a strategic approach that will follow the student throughout their educational career versus taking a distributed approach, which we have right now, which really is more of a handoff process.
Yes.
Rather than a strategic process.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Okay. And when they'll follow the student through, they'll be assigned in 9th grade, and that person will follow them through the 10, 11, and 12, and then there's like a rotation that keeps occurring.
And do we have a approximate number where the nurse may land? And I also, can we talk about how this might actually save us money in the long run with the sub-nursing? Can we explain that?
Yeah, the nursing piece in the past has been, we've been dealing with the nursing services through an agency. And we all know what's happening in the field of the health services and the difficulty anyone has, whether you've been in a hospital or there's shortages all over the place. Salaries have gone skyrocketing. So when we go to those services to get even a day-to-day sub or a week or whatever it may be needed, the price is prohibitive. And we've spent a lot of money over the last years through COVID to the present time. And what we're trying to do is use our existing staff because we're doubled in what is it, the high school?
The high school has an LPN that we go through a service to get, so she's here full-time. Where everybody else in another building has like an aide or a TA in their part of the day. But at the high school, you have a certified LPN, and then we have another LPN that rotates the other 4 buildings.
There are employees?
No, they're not, they're contractual. And then you have a 6 nurse. So we'd eliminate the 6 nurse and the other LPN. You'd have 1 LPN and then this director, supervisor of nursing. So
As a
that,
civil service type.
yeah, and that would save you close to 150,000 plus.
Per year.
Yeah.
And I think Enrique had spoken to what the cost was in the past, but that really was related to even our COVID expenses, but they were much bigger numbers than that.
COVID, we had 5 CNAs and the 6 nurse. So we had a lot because of the quarantine rooms. And then after COVID, I think it was last year, we went down to the 2 LPNs and the 6 nurse because we could not find subs. So yeah.
I have 2 quick questions. Anybody else have questions before?
I'm thinking maybe you're gonna answer someone late.
Okay, so my first question is there a total net new that we can sum up here for all the positions that are being proposed here?
Well, I don't think we're quite,
Is it?
in my opinion, the HR communications piece, I don't think we've fleshed that out enough.
That's my second question.
So I think we need to focus on these.
201.
Yeah, so my second question is, I feel very, very strongly that human resources and communications are two very distinct disciplines. And combining them, even in name only at the beginning, adds a certain level of responsibility to that position, which then you would have to figure out, well, what was their responsibility then, if you take it away at a later date and have to adjust their compensation for it, right? Better that you have somebody come in with the title and responsibilities that they're supposed to have. Let BOCES take care of our communications until we can figure out how we'll pay for a new communications director. Because that is absolutely critical for this district to have those disciplines separated.
We have more than.
I think there's more to discuss on that.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, I'm trying to remember last year, the human resource part. I remember you approved a temporary position, but it was always temporary and you were looking to fill that. Can you bring me
No,
up?
so HR was given to Dr. Ruller, right? So Dr. Ruller assumed that, and we always knew it was going to be temporary until we found someone to take it over. But historically, HR has been combined with another role, whether it was IT or something else. Which really, there's too much to do, right?
Was curriculum when I came,
Yeah,
and I think Enrique was.
and it moved to Matt. It
Implement HR?
was Matt who took it with
Oh.
IT, right?
Yeah,
It was always,
HR.
always curriculum and HR.
Right,
Then Matthew went to become HR
right.
and computer here, like, the opposite. And then when he left, they hired Laura
We took on both.
to come home.
Yeah, and HR should be its own position. So,
But I remember being in the audience and that was the sentiment, that it was always a temporary fix because it was gonna be its own position.
The stipend.
yes, and it's a stipend right now,
Okay.
yes.
And I. No, go ahead. No, go.
I think there's more talk here, and I think we have to understand what the role would be more, and I think we have to look at what we have internally. We probably should meet strategic plan, Corey and I should meet, and figure that out with the group, how we're gonna handle it, just to fix what we have right now, how we're gonna handle
But you guys are gonna talk to,
Yeah, we have to-
Karen
we have to
Boces.
talk.
That hasn't happened yet.
it. No, because I only have so many hours in the day, but yes.
You know, and I heard she's been out too, so. No, I'm sorry, no, I'm just
No,
saying.
it's been like 2 weeks, right? Not even. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's,
think the responsibility for an HR person is with the legalities that go around it. It should be its own position.
100%.
Yeah, and we need to look at, I think we need to look what other school districts do, as well, our size, right? And look at our need.
wait, but we're talking, talking with
HR.
Karen for BOCES, if we keep it with BOCES, potentially, it's aidable, so, and how we could use them while we're still fleshing out this position, how we could better
Sure that
utilize
what
them.
we have to meet with our whole pillar team, because we have to figure out if this is what we. And then to see if this is what they're envisioning.
Right.
You spent a lot of time talking about it, is it what? Right, envision.
So we can pull and table that one resolution, right? Yes,
It's just the one position, yeah, the one
Yeah.
executive director
the
of HR and
resolution
communication.
for Executive Director of Human
Yeah, pull
Resources
that.
and Communications, we're going to table that.
Do we need an official motion to table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to table the resolution for Executive Director of Human Resources and Communications?
So,
And Jen, second, all in favor? Okay, anything else on fiscal 5.4?
Before you leave, can I just add, just in an effort to be completely transparent, not knowing where this conversation will go after today. So as you're thinking of positions and what might pop up, know that we are trying collectively to solve a problem with newcomers to this country and how we might better address their needs all the way through, but with a serious focus on middle school and high school. I don't know that that will be a new position or it'll be changing what we do internally. We're still having those conversations with people who are experts in the field. The other thing I want you to just keep in mind we went to cap at elementary, and several of our grades are at cap right now. Just keep in mind that if we, for some reason, see an influx of kids over the summer, it will push us past the current VOE policy of 1 over plus 1. So, just so everybody,
We have two grade levels?
we have 4 and 5 is at the max,
Yeah.
and I believe there was another. So, I just want everybody to have all the information you need to have. Kindergarten, please, if you're out there, register your kindergarten students so we can get an accurate count as quickly as possible. But we have in the past few years been greatly surprised about kindergarten registration. And honestly, this year, they did go over the cap as the year went on. So we have 21 kids in K this year because slowly people came in, and that's where we're at. So I just want to make sure everybody knows what's happening.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve fiscal 5.1? One second. All in favor? All right, we got to keep it moving because we have a hard stop tonight at 8:40, 8:45. We are, is there anything on move tonight? Oh, we have donations? Oh, no, I don't have them. I'll have to move closer. All right. We're traveling. Everybody's, yes. Okay, so our first donation, the Office of Special Education has received donations in the amount of $1,050 to be utilized to pay for partial summer camp funding for students with significant handicapping conditions. And this is for the Barbara Katzenstein Scholarship Fund. So, our next donation today is New York Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital Center has made a $4,000 donation for the Hendrick Hudson High School 21st Century Science Curriculum Teacher Training. That's awesome. That's really cool. And the last donation is the Hendrick Hudson High School is the recipient of the following donations for specific graduation awards. Awesome. We've got the Margaret McCory Scholarship of $1,000 for Francis McCory. And then we have the Richard Albert Scholarship for $2,500, the Richard Albert Family Foundation. Awesome. Lots of great stuff today. Can I have a motion to approve the donations? Motion. Second. All in favor? Great. So we're back to superintendent's report, although.
I already made, well, I just want to
Yes, I
speak
was
to
gonna say you
the,
speak that.
yeah, the comment I wanted to make was I certainly didn't want to imply that that was all we were doing in the search. It was where we were at the time. It was mentioned a week or two ago. More has happened, and there was a press release that's available today, and in it explains the consultants, explains the process. And right now, from a community point of view, there are 2 community in-person meetings. One on June 6th at 11:30 to 1 at the Hendrick Hudson Free Library. And that same day, Tuesday, the 6th, from 5:30 to 7, again at the library to get community input. And then there are other groups and that we're working through PTA Council and whatnot in setting up times that are convenient with them and with the consultants, and that'll happen. Tonight, we had the board meet the search consultants. We did that. It was in exec because we had to zoom in on that one, but at least the board was able to meet them and discuss. It was a meet and greet more than anything. They're coming in personally to meet with them to seek their input. And then I wanted to make mention of the fact that we were going to have a community survey, and that will be posted by, I think we said it would be by Thursday. I'm going to say Friday. It would be better to say Friday with all that's going on with the election. We may not have time to get it up there tomorrow. But we have the questions, and so that'll be left open for a 30-day period, which will also seek input from anyone in the community in your own home. Just get on the computer and fill out the form. We'll collect the data, and all of that will be given to the board in terms of deciding what that profile will look like. And more to come as well.
How are we getting to the staff?
That's also, those are being worked on internally. So we have a union leadership meeting with all of our unit leaders in one meeting. So we have that one setting up. And then we have representative groups from buildings. So that's another one.
Okay.
And then it reaches out both to all employees, not just the teachers, but the teachers are included as well.
I just have one question. So it sounds like you have 2 in-person meetings to reach out to the community. Is there a possibility of making one online one? Because I find that a lot of people can't make it physically to those meetings and they would really appreciate some sort of.
And we
option.
spoke about a Zoom one, not to do it on this day with that, because they didn't
Okay.
want to take away from that personal interaction.
Okay.
And worrying about what we can set one up, because again, one consultant's in Cantona, the other consultant's in Volson Spot. They both would be fine with setting up a Zoom link and having conversations with people, so we can certainly.
That would.
We talked about doing, we just haven't picked a date yet,
Okay.
but we will.
Thank you.
So we're looking for tremendous community input, and there will be many opportunities, and we will overly communicate this. I hope at every board meeting to have updates for everyone on what's going on, what to look for, how to get involved. And we're gonna spend time, I think, 4 to 6 weeks at least, just building a profile for what we are putting out there in terms of our request for our next superintendent. Is there anything else that we need to?
No.
All right, so we're moving right along. Tonight we have our Blue Mountain Middle School and Hunter Crescent High School academic update. We have Ms. Giovanazzi and Ms. Rollins here to present their respective schools.
Really loud. Thank you guys for having us. It's always a pleasure to see you and to be here and to talk a little bit about some of the things we have been working on collaboratively and then each of our schools. So we are going to be representing different points of data this evening. And so we did want to start out with just a reference point of how many total students we have. So at Blue Mountain, we're at 502 currently, and at the high school, 753. I will say we've had, as Margaret mentioned before, we've had quite a few new enrollments. Students who speak languages other than English for the last few weeks, a significant amount at the high school and the middle school. So that number is higher than it was when we started in September, for sure.
So some of the data points we're going to take a look at: points of pride, course success rate, advanced courses, the middle school more so than the high school that I ready, RTI, MTSS, safety and participation regarding clubs and activities.
So the first set of data in front of you is our passes and failures for the first 3 quarters at Blue Mountain. And you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner, the failure rate is at 2% at the middle school. And when we look at the trends here in this data specifically, my mind automatically goes to things that we need to work on and conversations that we need to have at the middle level. And Anthony and I have had this conversation that should be a secondary conversation, looking at, our Q1 failures, we're at 70, and really digging deeply into the data now that we're at Q3, 84. How many of those students are in semester courses versus multiple courses? Where are they at grade levels? And really, what are our grading practices? What are our teachers incorporating into the grades? Why do we see that variation from a 70 to an 84 between Q1 to Q3? What specific courses are running during that time? And really digging deeply into those grading conversations.
So at the high school, if you look at the Q3 failure percentages, it's at 6%. And there are, a significant number of 9th graders that have failed going either more than one course, both, all 3 quarters, first, second, and third quarter. So we really need to take a look on our incoming 9th graders and what we can do to support those students. It's continued collaboration with the middle school, continued vertical alignment with the middle school, conversations about transitions, identifying kids early on as they move in from 8th grade to 9th grade, what supports we can put in place. Working with Dennis and the consultants that I've been working with on the master schedule, we're trying to come up with some kind of 9th grade orientation head-led life course, opposite study hall, so kids can get acclimated with the building, executive functioning, where to access support staff, really just to get a real orientation into the high school. So those are some of the things we'll look at. We do have an MTSS academic team, which I'll get to in a couple of slides, but how to better use that team to identify more students early on and what interventions and supports we could put in place for kids transitioning to 9th grade to get them a little bit sooner so that we don't continue to see the number of 9th grade failures that we've been seeing, which is not a horrible number, but it's probably the highest number out of the grade levels for each quarter here at the high school.
at the mountain. We are excited about our course offerings always, and always looking at our numbers, specifically in enrollment. At world language, we do offer our 7th grade honors course, that our algebra, living environment, advanced art, and our world languages on successful completion at the end of 8th grade would result in a high school credit. So that's the algebra, living environment, advanced art, French, Italian, and Spanish. And looking into ways to continue to provide inroads for our students, so that they are not limited in 7th grade, that they don't make it to that honors class, they can't get into that algebra class. What else can we do as a school to support our students and create multiple paths so our students can achieve algebra 1 when they get to 8th grade, as well as offering living environment for all our 8th graders next year. Do want to point out our French number there. That is currently the number of students we have enrolled in French 8, in 8th grade, in French 1 this year. Our French 7 is a significantly lower number. And then those students who are in 6th grade who selected their world languages for next year, we're looking at an even smaller number of French. So the conversation has been ongoing that we will be moving French 1 to not start at the middle level, but to start at the high school, because that's when we really see the world language uptick. So that we would focus on the Italian and the Spanish at the middle level, but also make sure that we offer that course in French 1 next year for our 8th graders.
So at the high school last year, we offered 19 AP courses, total number of 410 students took those courses. I think 406 out of the 410 students did sit for the AP exams, and right about 70% of the students scored a 3 or higher on those exams. We also offered 15 college level courses, giving us 240 students that took those college level courses as well. Having conversations with Dennis and the scheduling consultants, we want to make sure we offer the kids AP courses as much as we can next year, especially kids that need to fill a sequence or are seniors and want to take an AP, and then get on some kind of schedule to rotate year to year to see what AP courses match up that way.
Another point of data to look at is our iReady testing at the middle school. We know we administer iReady testing, the elementary and middle level 3 times a year. And this is our math data. You'll see our notice, we have our spring data and our fall and our spring data. Just want to highlight that in 8th grade, we do not give this assessment to our 8th grade algebra students, our students who are in algebra 1, because the test doesn't go that high. We don't want to over test. They're already in the algebra program. So you'll see that in the fall, for example, the 1st and 6th grade on or above grade level, we're looking at 21 students were on or above grade level for math at the beginning of 6th grade. And now that we're looking at the spring of 6th grade, we're at 45% of the grade for those students who took this exam. So that is where we see moving over, and we do want to see that increase to spring and that change from the fall to the spring. The next slide is our ELA slide. And I do want to point out that this is just one measure of data, and this gives us the opportunity to say, okay, let's flag our students where they perform here. And then let's look at that and triangulate that against their state assessment, their performance in class. And then do we need to bring them up for another type of assessment? Do we dig in deeper with a more targeted Fontes and Pinnell's, reading assessment? Do we need to do our key math assessment? I will say that middle schoolers are a really special time in our life, and I am, they don't always take this test very seriously. To put it frankly, the test is done, they have a couple of questions, and then they get to play a little game, and then a couple of questions, and they get to play a little game. So we often get a flag where the kids rush through it to get to the game, because they can spend a long time on the game. So, there's no perfect way to assess a middle schooler, or really anyone, but especially middle schoolers. So this is always taken with looking at the whole child, not just them as a number here, but really their performance overall, and looking at multiple different points of data. So with that, let's say we looked at all these points of data and we want to identify a student who may need some additional support. So one of the multi-tiered systems of support that we have at the middle school is our instructional support team. We are fortunate enough to have our team meetings as well. So our teachers work to differentiate within their classrooms. They meet with administration and the guidance counselors every other week to look at different levels of students within their class, students who may be struggling to come to school on time, struggling with concepts in math or ELA, working with those executive functioning skills. And we work through classroom plans. What are we going to do in the classroom to support those students? Sometimes within the classroom isn't enough. So we elevate that to our instructional support team. And we bring those children to the team, which includes counselors, the principals, our social workers, maybe a teacher, a related service provider. And we really analyze the case and say, let's look at the data. Where is this child? Where are we going? And communicate with the team about what we think the best plan would be. And really look at the data to say, do we need that counseling assessment? Do we need to do an assessment on math to see if they need some problem solving work? And then offer them that additional support in a school day, depending on what we've identified. So we have taken 70 students through that plan, whether that is an academic or a social emotional. Sometimes it's a student struggling to come to school or exhibiting self-harm behavior, and we want to make sure that we have that instructional support team that's not just academic, but especially at the middle level that we're looking at the whole child. With that, at the middle school, we have our 2 social workers who see 56 students that are mandated students. So students whose IEPs or 504 plans say that these students should be receiving counseling, as well as non-mandated students. So people, students that we've identified at the building level who would benefit from a check-in with the counselor. We also have our student assistance counselor that sees all of our 7th and 8th graders in prevention ed. And works with about 60 students. Some of those are self-identified students who see her.
So at the high school, our MTSS support team is a little bit different. We run 2 teams. We're an academic team that consists of an English teacher, a math teacher, a science teacher, a social teacher, a special education teacher, the referring teacher of the student that they're putting a referral on, an administrator, and a school counselor. This year, we've only put 25 students through the academic team. That number is very low. We need to improve upon that. We need to, like I said, identify students earlier. We need to train our staff better in the process. And we really need to use that team a little bit more effectively. And we have a greater number of kids going through that program so we can design interventions. One thing that has come out of that team is kind of naturally become a data team. So what this team wants to do is they want to administer the iReady assessment for the 9th grade and the 10th grade, which I'm working with Margaret to get some licenses for that. So we can take a look at that data as far as ELA reading for 9th and 10th. We do also run a student services team, which meets weekly. Both teams meet weekly. That team is made up of our counselors, our social workers, administrators, our school resource officer, our student assistance counselor, and they're taking student need referrals from the staff, as well as parents, for kids that need that social emotional support. And that team talks weekly, identifies students, puts interventions in place. We'll set up counseling sessions if they need to. We do have 4 social workers at the high school. They do see 72 mandated students, non-mandated, the 84 numbers, the 84 that has come out of the student services, meaning they run 9 counseling groups. And we do have a student assistance counselor here at the high school who has seen 165 students, whether it's in an individual setting, a group setting, or some kind of preventative education program. So we do try to hit the social, emotionally, academic, and anybody that needs further support from there. In regard to safety, we're very lucky because we can use our Alterra's safety consultant as well as Northern Westchester BOCES. We've done a number of tabletop trainings with our CERT team. We've done a faculty meeting training with Alterra's. We've done threat assessment training with our threat assessment team. I am a member of the Putnam Northern Westchester Administrative Regional Crisis Team. We meet monthly. There's personnel administrators from all across the counties, and they kind of debrief situations that may come up in regard to anything crises in their school. We do run 4 safety teams. We have a threat assessment team. We have a CERT team, which is the safety emergency response team. We have a crisis team, and we also have a reunification team that if we ever had to leave the building and reunify, we have a whole process for that as well. As of today, we have 15 staff members trained in Narcan, but I see that number going up because there are some trainings offered through BOCES, so we will have more people trained in Narcan.
I'll piggyback on that. and say that this year at Blue Mountain, we've been excited to share our resource officer and welcome her into the building, working on similar trainings, even had our staff press the button for the lockdown, pull the fire alarm to really get involved with what those things look like. A highlight for this year was on one of our early release days, we planned a professional development session using our consultants with WJCS in trauma-informed classrooms. And really taking a look at what is trauma, what have our students experienced over the last few years, and how do we create classroom spaces that honor and understand the different traumas that our students go through. That looks very different with every student in front of us. So that was a really great PD session, one of our early release days. At Blue Mountain, we have lots of clubs, 18 of them. And a number of students who attend the club vary from our after school academic help to our yearbook club, which is the highlight of taking pictures and teachers and the spirit day. Next year, we have a new proposed club. We're actually bringing back the musical. So hoping to bring back the musical at the middle school level, looking forward to those conversations and what that'll look like as we bring that back into our vernacular at Blue Mountain.
So at the high school in the fall, we had a really successful club fair that was held after school. Was run by Mr. Chinsky, who oversees our clubs and activities. We have 36 clubs that meet regularly. You can see the number of kids that are participating. You saw a great presentation this evening from the FBLA club. We have 3 new proposed clubs, chess club, a multicultural club, and I have a student that's interested in starting a neurodivergent awareness club, which I think is pretty neat. So we want to empower our kids. We want to have them have a voice. And one way we do that is to encourage them, if there's something they're interested in, to come to us with an idea, and we get the ball rolling for them. So I'm really excited about the number of offers we have for our kids.
In education, we are constantly preaching and thinking about being a lifelong learner. And one of those things we often have conversation about is what now, what next, what are we working on? So we are excited to go to the next slide, right? To think about some of the areas that we are going to continue to highlight.
So Laura and I have been discussing all year long about reevaluating our master schedule and trying to improve upon areas to increase student engagement in an effort to support the strategic plan regarding, specifically pillars 1, student engagement, and pillar 2, real world experiences. We do a lot of nice things here at the high school to expose kids to those kinds of things, but we really want to take it even a step further. At the high school level, we defined as a faculty what student engagement is. We've developed what our 4 pillars, respect, kindness, communication, collaboration, how we want to roll that out to the students next year, but we're always looking to enhance and move forward and make things better.
And I'm excited in thinking about pillars 1 and 2 and really using that as our focus as we evaluate some of our course offerings and really updating and creating opportunities within our curriculum to be more real world, more engaging, looking at, at the middle level, our UA offering, eliminating some of our redundancies, streamlining some of those conversations that we've been having. With our, with the faculty about different standards, for example, the new computer science standards, as well as our library media standards. What does that look like in what is now known as the digital literacy course, and what can we do to revamp that to enhance and support the new standards coming down the pike there, as well as making sure our students are exposed to the careers and college readiness standards that we see and haven't seen in the last few years. So it's exciting work to consider. And as we look at our last slide, second to last slide, our goals and aspirations, really those 2 pieces are a huge part of, things we want to continue to work towards. But in that, the continued partnership between the middle and the high school, at the middle level, really aspiring to bring in, connect the strategic plan, as well as looking at the fully implementing the profile of the student next year, with the event to roll that out. And that was great work done by multiple stakeholders this year. And then another element that I'm excited to continue the learning and working on is our 21st century learning spaces. I had a teacher come to me recently and said, listen, I really want to implement more group work and strategic and Socratic seminars in my class, but these really old fashioned desks we have don't work for that. Is there a way we could order some furniture that would allow me to redo this space? And I was like, absolutely. So, we really building in and looking at what we have and how can we create learning spaces that feel safe and that our students are engaged and that they feel like they want to learn in. Next year, we'll be also adding, kind of bringing back something that was a little bit pre-COVID and then happened during the COVID time, an advisory or a check-in period, where every single staff member in the building will be assigned students to meet with once a week for a short period of time, really focusing on those skills in the profile of a student. Just having another adult in the building to check in with. Someone else that might not be your teacher, might not be the teacher you see every day or your homeroom person, but just another adult to have a check-in with the building. A really powerful statement is to be able to look at the entire list of students in your building and have your staff put labels next to every kid or who has a connection with that student. And making sure that we have multiple opportunities for students to connect with different teachers in our building, different staff members in our building. So that'll be a big goal and aspiration for next year.
So a couple of goals I have here for the high school is to develop a profile of a graduate. What are the essential skills, the qualities, the habits of mind that we want our HHCSD graduates to have and possess as they graduate from the high school year? To use our MTSS team more effectively, and take a data-driven approach so that we're constantly analyzing data to inform decisions regarding instruction and decisions, with master schedules and basically taking a real strong look at data. Empowering student voice and agency, giving students the platform to take ownership of their own learning, to feel more connected to the school, and to feel they have ownership and they're part of the decision making. Are a couple of the goals that I have, and also to continue working with Lauren in our partnership and communicating and transition planning between the middle school and high school. Those are all goals that I would set for next year.
Thank you both. We'll work around the room. Question? Erica, do you want to be first?
Start with me?
Sure. You'll not go, off the list for all of us. Remember, we're out of time.
Thank you so much for this. This is fantastic and really helpful just to get us to understand where we are and potentially where we could go with our students. It's great to see all the positives, hearing that we had the number of kids that actually sat for the AP exams. I think that's something that's come up multiple times, right, this year. Sounds like we have quite a few sitting for them and they're doing quite well on them. So that's, good to hear. Obviously I had kids take iReady, so I know what this looks like. It's the surprising part, I think, is that why they would go for, I think it's the three or more below grade level on the presentation where they actually that number doesn't really improve. Do you think there's a reason for that?
So in the fall, it's the 6th grade, I'm looking at ELA, you had 31% that were 3 or more, and then in the spring, 28%. So that is a change, looking at the 160 something students in that class, we can break it down a little bit further. But I do think that when you are significantly below grade level, it's really hard to catch up. And so maybe even those few changes is a big impact.
So there, what can we do to help those students? Like, what do you envision us? It sounds like we might need to do something similar at the high school level because because it doesn't sound like our kids are getting recommended to the MTSS process, maybe the way we might like. So what can we do to support you? Like what if you could dream a way to help, what would that look like?
That would be a really large conversation and involve a lot of money.
I mean, be honest, but
I think, really looking at our school schedule is going to make a big impact here. The amount of contact time that our students have with their teachers, and what is that time? Our kids change periods every 42 minutes, and it's hard to dig deep in 42 minutes in some of these concepts. As well as, our AD rotation and there's certain things that we could improve on at a school schedule level that would have a great impact on the amount of time our kids spend academically. And I think that is something that is a high priority. And once we have that, we will be able to then look at the amount of time our teachers are spending and then the curriculum they're using. And it's a trickle down effect. But I think once we have a strong understanding of what we want and what we feel like is important in order to make those students, help those students achieve. I think that is paramount, and I think that's a large conversation that I know Anthony is starting with the consultants this year, that I think will be ongoing. We started out at the middle school this year, small changes for next year, but I think that's a larger conversation. Secondary, what does that look like? What are best practices in the area? What does block scheduling look like? What does drop scheduling look like? And how does that impact kids? Because I think the more time you can spend reading, writing, and doing math, practicing it, not worrying about transitioning to the next class, you might see some change there. I am really proud of the students we do bring forward and the ones that meet with the reading teachers and the specialized programs we have. The variety, I don't even think I can count on one hand how many reading programs we offer to be able to target specifically if a child is struggling, where they get that specific targeted instruction. And this year it started in math too, so we're seeing it on both ends there. But I think the simple answer, which is very long-winded, would be really examining contact time.
Anthony, similar.
Yeah, I think that here at the high school, we need to do a better job of identifying the incoming ninth graders sooner, so we can get them in appropriate AS courses that they need to be put in, and they get the appropriate supports that they need, and even put them through the MTSS process right away once the school year starts. To see what we can design in the schedule as well to address those ninth graders.
Will help them more, because now I think we spent a little time talking, probably especially Jen and I, because we both have ninth graders, like about our concern for this particular group of students that didn't have a normal middle school experience at all. I mean, every kid's experience was affected, but this group in particular. So like we have all these wonderful ideas to make sure that the eighth graders coming into ninth grade are good, because I think we've learned a little from this group. Is there anything we can do to target them, to help them moving forward? Have you thought about that at all for next year for this group?
Yeah, I think it's just articulation with the counselors, the eighth grade counselor to the incoming counselor here at the high school, and seeing what kind of program we could design for those particular students, and see if we can get that course put in to help with the transition for the ninth grade.
I'll also add that our ELA departments are have some release time next week together, where they'll be working eighth grade to ninth grade to really look at student reading levels and who's coming in with what skills. And so I think that continues. We've had a lot of our release time and our department meeting time this year. I think more so, Margie, you speak to this more so than ever at the middle and high school, having those continued conversations where it's not just, oh, you're the department over there and we're the department here, but really asking and advocating for, oh, that department wants to meet 7 through 12 or wants to meet 6 through 12. So that's something that I know about today, and that they want to meet next week to look at specific students. And I can speak at the middle level. We've already gotten all the data on our students from 5th grade to 6th grade too.
I really want to see this ninth to going into 10th grade group. I feel like they need a little bit of a target to give them some support. So
yeah, so the plan was, and I'll touch base tomorrow with our MTSS team, was to get the licenses for the I-Ready, to administer the I-Ready for the ninth graders, current ninth graders and current 10th graders, to see where they are there. We did have one of our ninth grade teachers, Ms. Rogolski, also kind of charted her ninth grade students as far as reading levels and supports they need. And it was kind of eye-opening to see how many kids really do need that support that you were talking about. Just to piggyback on what Lauren said, we met middle school, high school in each department, and every department at the high school wants to sit with the middle school and talk about what's going on at the middle school, so they can bridge that to what we do here at the high school. So I think we've done more of that this year than we've ever done, where we've had 6 through 12 conversations with all 4 departments.
and then one other thing is Narcan at the middle school. Is there a plan to get people trained there?
Yeah, we're working on getting training, and making sure that everyone signs up for the training. It's just, we haven't done that yet, but it is on the radar.
Echo what Erica said. I mean, this is great. I know sometimes data is sometimes hard to interpret. It's not always can become emotional, especially when it's not what you had hoped for. But I applaud you for preparing it and presenting it to us. So I guess failures So we talk about quarter one, quarter two, quarter three failures, and you give the numbers. How many students are failing more than one class or two classes or three classes is something that's, I would imagine, is that number something you guys are targeting specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a smaller number. I can say that in quarter three, you know, we're looking at 15 or less. So, that are failing multiple, and those would be the kids that we would see brought up at an IST meeting, or that have other plans in place to make sure that we are monitoring them more closely. Not all the same ones from quarter one to quarter three.
I do have the data on that, and I have to analyze that a little bit deeper, but I would say that it's mostly the ninth grade that has had more, one or more, two or more, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is really, seen mostly in the ninth grade.
Yeah, like, I mean, again, so we just really need to make sure that we're, for next year, that we're thinking about them when we place them in classrooms. With how many students, who's the teacher, I think we need to dig into that a little bit more than what perhaps was done in the past, not sure. And you guys did bring up some sort of grading policy, something we've actually talked as a board about a homework policy. So I think we should get your feedback on that, because I know that has come up at our policy committee. It's something we want to bring to the table, so we just make sure we circle back with.
We're also talking about grading and equity with grading, how teachers set up the grade book in Infinite Campus. I mean, if we're both teaching English and I'm 35% projects, you're 25% projects, and I only give one project, you miss that one project and you just killed your grade.
Yeah.
So really across the board, you know, that all teachers are looking at that and looking at the actual mathematical calculation of it. So no one's penalized.
Agreed.
As well as progress across the semester or across a quarter, because you can come in and take that first test without, you know, on fractions, not do well, but then over the course of the quarter, really understand fractions. But by the time you do your, you know, ratio and proportion test, you really master those fractions, because it's not reflective of how much you learn in fraction. And I think that that's, you know, that's definitely a large conversation.
We did some of this work prior to COVID at the high school. We did look at grading practices and homework and all that, and then it kind of fell to the wayside once COVID hit. But I have so much material of the work that we started prior to that. I can bring that up also. I think we did a whole week on our leadership week, a summer retreat regarding that. So the conversation I started, there was just no follow-through because of what happened after COVID. Or once COVID hit.
And then the IST and TSS, I guess, at what point are you involving? So if a student goes to IST, or are you notifying the parent? At what point
right
is the
away.
parent engaged? Okay.
Right away. Usually, you know, this is the plan, you know, the team met, we recommended a counseling assessment. Or, you know, the team has noticed, you know, in responding to questions in class, we've seen some processing or some, you know, asking unique questions. We'd like to have a speech consult done. That the parents are always involved in that conversation. That happens without parent conversations, because it's a partnership and they need to understand where we are, as well as them identify that their child needs some additional digging into.
At the high school, it's been a little more work because it's kind of a mind shift in how the teachers are thinking and identifying more kids than they normally be identifying in the process. We need to train them a little bit better on that. And we need to really dig into how to progress monitoring and all those kinds of things. So at the high school, this is kind of a new thing for this team. But it has evolved and it has gotten better over the last few years.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say at the high school level, it's probably something that's a little more lost just because kids are older, but I do think that especially some of these kids that are, we'll say COVID kids, right? They haven't maybe built some of the skills that we would have seen in graduating 12th graders. So parents shouldn't be surprised that their kids are failing at the end of a quarter, right? Like that's a shocking surprise. So I hope we can make sure.
I mean, everybody's thing doesn't go up every 5 seconds.
I need to do that.
So our MTSS team this year really did a deep dive into the 9th grade. We shared some of that information with Dennis as well, taking a look at the number of kids that failed, some of the supports that they need. So I have a whole little report that they put together for me, just specifically related to ninth grade. So although we may not only have 25 kids that are gone through the process, the team has naturally evolved itself into a data team. And it's looking at all sorts of test scores, progress reports, exam scores, that kind of thing. So part of my goals is a data-driven approach. I've actually had a natural team developed through MTSS, even though we've only had 25 kids go through it.
Okay, great. I just want to jump into that for one quick second here, okay? The important question in all of these conversations at any level really, but we happen to have secondary here tonight. The question that begins to open up the answers and the pathways to solutions is, why is this child failing? And there are a million reasons, but for us as a staff to understand what could be, what's within my control and what's not. And when something isn't within my control, how do I respond to that student based on what I've learned? So, kids not doing their homework is not necessarily, I'm not doing my homework because I don't like you as a teacher. It could be, I'm not doing my homework because I'm babysitting 3 kids at night, or I'm involved in so many things that maybe I couldn't get to finish my homework that night, or maybe I had 5 hours of homework. So I think helping all of us understand that the why drives how we solve the problem. And so we have to ask that question first.
Agreed. Hopefully, this improved guidance model would hopefully help support getting us there.
Yeah.
Because they'd have many more touch points with their students.
Sure.
But
So I know everybody has questions. I'm gonna ask, please, if we can, let's ask what's really pressing and urgent, and then we can, as a board, organize, just because we have to get to FGL by 9, and we have our lovely PTA here. We can organize any follow-up questions, because the academics of the students is #1 for us, and we have a million questions, I'm sure. So if there's questions that anyone feels like they need to get out right now, let's ask them while we're in person here. Otherwise, we will circle back with anything more we need or would like to know, or all that.
I just have one.
Yeah.
But first, I just have to say, great presentation. These presentations just keep getting better and better. I love seeing that transparent data, which is absolutely fantastic. We have not gotten a lot of that in the past, so really appreciate that. And I want to put you on a pedestal for that. But the issue that I have is there is a sea change coming. It is on the scale of the Industrial Revolution, where our workforce is going to completely change. And it is going to affect students that are in middle school right now, and even the high school students. By the time they get to the workforce, it will affect them directly. I would like to know and get a presentation on how we are preparing them for that. People don't know what's going to happen. Everybody's a great Monday morning quarterback. In 20 years, we'll be able to look back and say what we should have done, but what research are we doing? How are we thinking about how it's going to affect the curriculum, how we're going to support students, how we're going to prepare them? It is a much longer look at strategy of how we prepare our students over the course of their education. I would love to hear more about that, because it's all the principals getting together and figuring that out with curriculum, with everybody in the administration. How do we change what we do to prepare our students for the future we know that's going to happen? It's already started. It's just going to get more and more impactful. So I would love something on that.
Yeah.
So Lauren and I are starting on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you next week.
That's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for. We got to start sometime.
Great.
I appreciate the data as well. The only other thing I would be looking for is more historical data. I know you both are new in your positions this year, but helping us understand from last year to pre-COVID, to understand the long-term trends of where we've been and where we're going.
I just have 2 questions really quickly. I love that we have 19 AP courses and 410 kids take those courses. Am I reading that correct?
Yes.
And 15 college level courses, 240. So we have 753 students. What do we have available for the students that's not the AP student or taking the college level courses?
We have a full slew of electives. We have our project leading weight programs.
Is there a way we could start to look at getting a CDOS pathway to graduation?
Yeah, we've been working closely with Lisa Shupman and
I'm on it.
And the last number, I just didn't understand when it comes to clubs. It says number of students attending, 1,185, but there's only 753 students at the high school.
So there's students that are in multiple clubs.
Okay, what would be more helpful, just from a data point, is how many actual students? So if you have 753 students and you have 300 students taking part of those clubs, how do we need to get more kids interested in clubs? Is there other things for the kids who are not doing clubs or sports? You know, so no one falls.
I do have a breakdown of every single club and every single student that is in that club, there's none.
That-
I didn't incorporate that, but I do have it.
And thank you for the data.
Oh, you're welcome.
Right. I'm not rushing anybody, but I'm rushing everybody. Thank you folks so much.
Thank you.
Your presentation was wonderful. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Yeah, oh, sorry. It froze up there. And now we have our Blue Mountain Middle School and our Hendrick Hudson PTAs.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm Rebecca Quigley, our PTA president at the high school. I'm the secretary at the high school, and I'm Jeannie Eichenholz, and I am the co-president at the middle school. Sure. I know we're under time crunch tonight, so we'll be quick. On the first slide, the high school just had our executive board elections last week. So we just have our staff up there. We revised this presentation that we gave to you guys this fall. And I just wanted to add that we are embracing our events that allow our students to be together at low or no cost in environments. So again, we just revised this a little bit. Recently, we had our Cinco de Mayo fiesta that happened. That was a huge hit. We had more than 200 kids in attendance on a Friday afternoon. And we had multiple faculty members that were involved and just really fantastic attendance. And I think we really seized upon something there. Upcoming, we're hoping to do a used book sale on the lawn of the high school. And we also have our pre-prom event that's open to the entire community happening on June 14th. We are hoping to do a financial literacy program in the fall to again embrace all of our grades, all of our kids. And moving down to our student-run events, we have a couple of additions here. Not only do we have actually a junior at the high school who has been running a mental health event for the second year in a row now. So we've been helping them publicize and encourage our student body to attend that event. But we have our Hendrick Hudson Leo's organization has approached the PTSA about partnering to do community Narcan training. So we're hoping to have that happen in the fall, and that would be open to all of our student population. The fashion show, which I'll talk about in a minute, was so profitable that we've been able to make donations back to the senior and the junior class with that profit. We have a number of initiatives where we're working with the staff in the guidance office. I'll just highlight some of our grants. As you exit the library this evening, the black wall on the right-hand side is our art department. We funded that through a grant to the art department. There's going to be a new movable display system that will be in effect for the art show that's happening on May 24th. So we're thrilled to work with them. We are also in contact with the new student assistant counselor here at the high school about a number of pre-prom and pre-graduation safety initiatives, making sure that everybody stays safe during the celebration season. We also ran a new fundraiser this winter called the $250 challenge that was encouraged all of the grades to participate. And it was a big success for us. We raised more than $2,000, and kudos to the freshman class who actually won the challenge. Once this class has gotten above $250, we gave half of the money back to the actual class so that they don't have to work so hard to fundraise. So the freshmen earned $500 $100 back. So great work to the freshman class. Moving on to our next slide, the initiatives. You've all seen this before. And I just wanted to add, like I said, we have our used book sale coming up in June. We have a pre-prom coming up in June. And our fundraising efforts and our considerations for next year are all pretty similar to what we've done previously. I just wanted to highlight a couple of areas where we could use the school board's support and advocacy. First of all, the ENL team at the middle school actually just reached out. They have a number of initiatives that they'd like to have on the docket for next year. They want to have their visits at the middle school and the high school, and they want to have some reading materials provided to the students in those classes at both schools. I believe that the PTAs and HHCEF will be able to underwrite most of the requests that they've made, but I just wanted to put it on your radar screen as well. I think this is an area where we could do a lot more. Also, I wanted to draw attention to the fact that the high school guidance office will be restructuring this year, and our 9th grade guidance counselor position will not be in effect anymore. So therefore, for parents who aren't familiar with the high school guidance structure, when you arrive at the high school, normally in the past, you've had a 9th grade guidance counselor, and then you move on to another guidance counselor who you are with for the remainder of your high school career. And we're doing away with that 9th grade position next year. I just want to have the board's eyes on the guidance department during this transition. Because this position has been in effect for such a long time, the community is definitely nervous about the fact that we're removing this 9th grade counselor. So I just want to make sure that the guidance team has all the supports they need, that the community is educated to make sure that they understand the pros and cons, but mostly the pros of moving to this system. I'd also like to put in a plea for our building use forms to be automated. They are, please, they are in quadruplicates. For those of you unfamiliar, anytime an outside organization or agency has to use the building facilities, we have to fill these forms out by the day, by the event. It is a big undertaking, and it would be incredible if this could be automated. I've asked in the past, and I wanted to ask again tonight, so thank you.
Give me the form itself, or like
the form itself.
I know, it's like, I fill it out too for the lacrosse program. It's like the 3 sheets and it makes copies. A Google form would be nice.
Yeah. And so, for the PTAs, I mean, and
we'll find out the legalities behind it.
Yeah, our elementary friends were here this evening. They'd be great. Echoing, yeah. Anyway, and I just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to come speak again today. The second time this year, it's such a treat and such an honor, and we really appreciate it. Also thank you for reinstating Hen Hug advocacy. I think you've seen a lot of their good work this year by running the candidates forum for the school board, and also all of their work publicizing the bus patrol campaign. So thank you.
Can you, just one thing, can we meet to talk about the ENL initiatives? Because I want to make sure they're also on Margaret's.
I know.
Yeah, they're on her radar
They're
too.
also working with Hen
We can all make that, you're not duplicating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was Susan McCormick sent the message, but I followed up with Mrs. Patel Chef in the high school.
Okay.
So yeah, they have a lot of great things that they'd like to do, but it's all going to require funding. So yeah.
I actually heard about it from the librarian.
Yeah.
And then I went and checked my email, it was there. All right, so really quickly from the middle school, our biggest priority this year, we are in a big transition year. We had all new board coming in, we had a new administrator. So we really wanted to focus this year on building a relationship with Mrs. Collins, establishing good communication, both with the PTA and the school, and then within the community. And we feel very happy about that. Our board has really come together, and we feel that we're sharing information with our parents. We're also connecting with our teachers, and we're definitely working hand in hand with our administrations. We're really thrilled with the support that both Lauren and Nicia give us at the middle school. We do have a meeting scheduled with Principal Collins in a few weeks. We're going to be going over everything that happened this year. We want to hear about how the year was for her. We want to hear about what she thought was good that we did, what she'd like us to do more to support for her. And then we have a whole bunch of ideas that we've been throwing at her. So we're going to go through some of those, and we're going to be planning over the summer and really working hard for next year.
So for our next slide, which is an update also, we were happy with the events that we did this year. We were able to support some cultural enrichment initiatives. We were able to bring back the 8th grade chorus trip to Broadway. They went and saw Hadestown, and this year, not only was it open to the 8th grade choral students, it actually was open to every middle school choral student. And we had 6th graders and 7th graders who were able to go as well. We heard it was fantastic. They got to do a Q&A with the cast and crew afterwards, which they loved, and we're thrilled to be able to support that. We also are supporting music in the parks for our middle schoolers. That's coming up. So we're very, very pleased with that. And we have next week our Ask a 6th Grader panel. So we have our 5th graders coming in, where they'll be able to hear directly from our 6th graders. And we're going to be working on an Ask a 6th grade parent panel for the parents as they're transitioning from the elementary into the secondary level, because it's a big change for parents too. We want to be able to support them as well. Something that we're got the used book sale coming up that we're doing with the high school. It's been great the last couple of years. This year, we're hoping to bring it into the school so that our students at the middle school can also access it. So we're hoping to have a couple of days where we're going to be in the building there, and the students can get their used books to bring home for summer. Our fundraising this year was quiet. It was good. We wanted to see where we needed to be, and we're very pleased with some of the things that we were able to do. Our first aid kit fundraiser was really cool, something a little different, and we had good response. So we're hoping to bring that back, maybe in conjunction with some wellness opportunities and things like that as well. The election day bake sale is awesome. And when people come and vote at the middle school, you need a little snack. So that was good. We'll be bringing that back. Coming up, we have what's coming up. We have a lot of 8th grade graduation, 8th grade moving up events that we're going to be supporting and working with, and we're really pleased with that. We do have, we're looking to do one more cultural enrichment program for the entire school. As Mrs. Collins mentioned, hopefully next year the musical will be back, but for now we're trying to do something that will be across all grades 6 through 8, so all of our kids can enjoy something before school lets out. We will be working over the summer. We'll be doing She's Holding an Ice Cream Social. We're going to be there to support as well. So we welcome, feedback from our parents, from our community. We will be hoping to work with our 5th grades transitioning in, and then our 8th graders transitioning. We're the transition school. We hit them on both sides. So we're going to do everything that we can to make those transitions smooth on both ends. And again, the advocacy committee, as an advocacy committee co-chair, we're very pleased with the support that we've received from the district. We felt the Board of Ed candidates forum for the election went really, really well. We were very happy with it, and we were pleased to be able to support that. We have one more tentative meeting scheduled right now. We're trying to work on another Indian Point topic, and then the advocacy team will be meeting over the summer to start planning out some things for next year. One of the things that we have, and I think at all levels, is our PTA units support our PTA and our PTA initiatives all the way up to the state level. So what our PTA is advocating for, we do the same, just in supporting our schools and our students. And we're at 8:45, so stop us right there.
You guys are amazing. I don't think you could have spoken anything else there. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you guys had this pressure. I didn't realize how tight we were gonna be. Great.
You'll be better.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Okay, well, there's no time for committee reports, board comments, for business. That'll have to all wait. Yeah.
Just tell people that next week and May 31st, what we're gonna talk about. I think we can use people to teaser.
So at our next board meeting, which is on Wednesday, May 31st, the elementary school restructuring topic will come back up. We've started to kind of dig around through some ideas and plan out how we're going to, go over the next few months in terms of community involvement, stakeholder involvement, teachers, everybody, as well as, what are the options? Plan B is out there, but what are the options? So that we make sure that it's not just that we're narrowly focused on one direction and that we're looking at all of our options. But I don't want to say too much because we're really late. Yep. And on May 31st, we'll have work on that topic. And I have a motion to close the meeting. Second, all in favor?